Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans for Tuesday, November 26th, Thanksgiving weekend, our week. My name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of NotaryCoach.com and the Sign and Thrive Notary Training Course and Community. Our co-host is Laura Biewer, founder of Coach Me Laura. Laura, welcome today.
Thank you, Bill. It's a great day to be here.
Isn't
Lots
it?
of exciting stuff. It's a great week. Thanksgiving, yay!
It is. It is. This is a special time for sure. And of course, Carol Ray is our third co-host, founder of Notary to Pro, and she is taking some time away. She's on the road right now to a little getaway with her and her husband for the holiday. So it's just Laura and I. We've got some great questions that we're going to jump into. But Laura, before we do that, instead of asking, what are you excited about this week? How about we say, what are you grateful for this week?
I love that. This certainly is the week that I think is in the most forefront with Thanksgiving upon us, although every day and every week is our opportunity to be grateful. And I'm most grateful for my family and how lucky I am to have my grown children decide to live right here in my own city where I'm at in Modesto, so that I get to see them frequently, but they live outside my house. So it's a great balance.
It's a win-win.
Because I'm loving it being an empty nester. It took a while to get there. But having them right there in town where I could see them whenever I want, but coming home to my empty house, I like that. So that I'm grateful that they chose that. I really expected them to move far away, and they didn't. My mom also lives right in the city, and two of my brothers do. So I have enough family right around me to stay involved, and I love that. And I love and am grateful for technology. As much as I have a love-hate relationship for it, the Zoom calls and Marco Polo, I don't know if anybody of you use Marco Polo, but I'm one of 7 siblings. And every day, except for the 2 that are here, the other 5 are across the United States. And every day we get on Marco Polo and record messages for each other, just about what we're doing and taking pictures of what's happening in our day. And it keeps us connected. So I love that technology is not just for work, that I can use that to stay connected with my family. And then I'm grateful for you and for Carol, who together have created with me just this magical space that allows us to connect with other people who love what we love, you know, doing the notary thing. And Carol asked me to forward, when I spoke to her last night, how grateful she is for this following, for this audience, for the people who show up in the morning on Tuesday and participate with us and really help everybody advance what we do. So those are the specific things I'm grateful for today. And Bill, I'd like to know what you're grateful for.
You'd think I would have prepared a little better for this, but you know, this time of year is a sacred time for me, even above and beyond the Thanksgiving, because I've shared my story. You know, this is where I had that kind of epiphany where, you know, everything was crumbling and falling apart, and this was the weekend I got to explore why that was. So it holds a very special place in my heart, where I do get to not only express gratitude, but also reflect on life. So in gratitude is a part of my daily routine, and I encourage everybody to adopt that. And even as we go through today's call, or any call, or even your day-to-day life, one mantra that really stands out to me is that gratitude and complaining cannot coexist. So if you ever find yourself where there's some aspect of your business or your life that you're not liking, if you switch from complaining to gratitude, the complaining goes away. And that has really helped me. So I am so grateful. For me, my business has blended into my life. And I love that because my business and who I have met along the way has absolutely changed my life. So as I move into closer to Thanksgiving, that's what I'm going to be reflecting on, and impact and legacy. that I get to leave as part of this business and with my family. So that's what I'm grateful for. So why don't we go ahead and move in to our questions, because we've got a lot of great ones. And I'm going to just start with the chat window, if that's okay with you, Laura.
I think that's fine.
Garrett, Garrett says, how do you present all the client copies? How do you all present the client's copy of the documents to them? Do you package it in a specific way? And that's a great question. I don't think I've ever heard the client's copies being asked that way. So for me, I usually either clip them, or if I have a folder from the client, like I get Escrow Direct, so I try to have some of their folders where I can put copies in if they require it. So it has their contact information, maybe their business card stapled to it. And then I always put the first payment letter up on top on their copies. So because really the only reason they're ever going to go into that thing is for the first payment letter and maybe the settlement statement. So that's usually towards the top anyway. So I put the payment letter on top. What about you, Laura? Do you do anything special?
I wouldn't say special, but it's similar to you in that I binder clip the documents with one of those giant binder clips so they'll stay together. I too like to put the first payment letter to the top. And I also put the right to cancels right underneath that, because those are probably the only two things that would come up.
Mm-hmm.
So I put those right up there and point them out. If there's a wiring document, then I'll put that also on top, because they're going to need that to go to the bank to wire funds. So that's really all I do. I don't put them, I used to put them in big vanilla folders, but you know what? Because they're legal size, I had to have legal ones. And most people don't have legal size drawers. So I just decided, that wasn't helping them. So I just do the binder clip.
Nice. Great question. Great question. Let's jump into the presentation. Now, I would love, Laura, if we could start in December next week with a clean slate, like answer every question.
Okay, let's roll.
But it is yeah, we got a bunch to make that.
We got a boatload, huh?
Yeah, we got a ton. So let's jump in here and take a look at it.
Okay.
Okay, from Candy. I skipped this one last week, so sorry, Candy. Here we are. I had a signing last week where I had to go back a second time because I didn't let the signers sign a document that had a prior date on it, way prior, like from April. I asked the title company to change the dates, and they would not, because it had to do with the auditors. Should I have had the signers cross out the date and put the current date in, or should I have had the signers sign with the incorrect date? Laura, you want to take that one?
Well, here's the thing, and the answer is a little different on a notarized document than a non-notarized document for me. If there is a requirement for documents to be signed with certain dates on them, that's really not so much my concern. My concern is collecting those signatures. If the client has an issue with it, then I think a conversation needs to ensue. When they are notarized documents, now I have a little more concern about that. Of course, my date is always going to be current, no matter what the date is on the document, and we certainly can notarize a document that has a pre or post date on it on the document itself, except in the instance of a jurat. If it's a jurat, then the date of the signature must match the date of your certificate. And in that case, you would need to have them redate it. Either, I don't even know that they need to strike the other date, but just include the newer date with their signature so it matches my certificate. So that's when I'm really on top of it, is when it's notarized. When it's not notarized, I'm just collecting signatures on behalf of the client. And if they have an issue, then I let them pursue it.
Yeah, great. I do the exact same thing. And, it's tough because we don't know what document this is or what the situation is. But one thing that some people get hung up on is the draft date of documents. So sometimes there'll be a date 3 or 4 days before or 6 months before at the top of the documents, and it sends up a red flag for us. But dates in the past, when they draft those documents, does not have an impact on us so much as the date that they're actually signing, or of course the notarization factor. Thank you for the question, Candy. Lori says, I was reading in a forum that some signing agents are carrying two types of E&O now. First, the well-known notary insurance, and secondly, liability insurance specific to loan signing agents. I've not received a response from the original poster. Have you heard anything regarding a second policy for notary signing agents? Laura, have you heard anything on this?
I have only heard, that's not something the NNA carries, that there is something, but liability insurance is something that I carry secondary to my E&O. E&O is specific to making notary errors, but that doesn't cover me on any other kind of mistake I might make outside of being a notarization. And so that's why I carry a secondary one. And particularly because I have a physical location where sometimes clients meet me or coaching clients meet me. And so I need to have insurance for that as well, in case somebody trips, falls, anything can happen. So I do carry more than one.
And I think I have a general liability policy too for my business. And again, I think we have to preface this that we're not insurance advisors, we're not attorneys. So definitely seek the advice of a professional to find out what coverage makes sense for you. Also, make sure you choose wisely, because we have to recognize that some people's job is to sell stuff. So they will make us believe that we need things that maybe we don't necessarily need. So really make sure that you qualify your advisors when you get your opinion on this. As far as the loan signing E&O that's supposed to be specific, I know it's considerably more expensive, and I'm not familiar with exactly what it covers or why we would have it. Would it be safe to say, Laura, that most NSAs function with only like the merchant bonding company E&O insurance from NNA or similar?
Right, or similar product from somebody else. And that E&O, no matter who they get it from, is going to be specific to notary errors.
Got it. Excellent. Helen's asking a question now. I want to talk about this again too. Can you print customer copies just on letter size instead of letter and legal like the signed copies would be? We kind of talked about that a little bit a couple of weeks ago too, Laura, but can you kind of reiterate your stance on this?
Yeah, whether you can or not, I wouldn't. I wouldn't, because that second set could be utilized as backup documents should I need them at the table, and then they're not in the right format for me. Some of these legal documents, if you shrink them to letter, they're not really readable anymore for the signer. If I'm going to save money, I'm going to do it in other ways. This is not the way for me to save money, is to print on letter and on whether it's one-sided or on two sides. So I'm not for that. I print it exactly everything. Whatever was on the first time, I do it on the second time.
Love it. And I'm the exact same way. We're talking about saving pennies. And I know at some point it feels like that's really important. And that I kind of get it, but exactly for what Laura said, if you'll have a backup in case somebody signs the note wrong or the deed of trust wrong, those critical documents where you need another copy. So, and plus it takes time to reorganize your printer, change your settings and do all that. Your time is extremely valuable. So honor your time on these things too. Mm-hmm. Kristen asked a great question that's going to be leads into another question here in the presentation. She says, I've only been commissioned since April, and I've had 2 signing companies not pay me. How do you go about collection activities with non-payment without risking a bad review on these platforms? Laura, you want to take that one?
Well, first of all, I make sure that I have something that says what the payment is going to be and what the time frame is going to be. Because there are signing companies out there, some are 30 days, some are 2 months, some it's after 60 days, which means you're in your 3rd month. So you want to make sure that you know what you're accepting in the first place. And then once you know what that is, make sure you're not chasing that money before it's time. If you agree to 2 months, don't be chasing it at 30 days. They need to work through their process. The third thing is that I do my communications and writing with them when I am following up. So I run a report every week on Notary Assist that tells me who has not paid me. And I have the date from when I did the job. So I can see how old it is. And I will send my first one with the, it would be something to the effect of, I notice I haven't been able to close this out yet. Perhaps it's an oversight on my part. Did I not invoice you? Or is something happened on your end that I don't know about? And I give them the benefit of something's just gone wrong and it's on accident. Here's a copy of my invoice just in case. And that's the first one. And then I'll give them another week to respond to me, to either say, oh, here's the check. We show it's cashed, or we're so sorry. And that's usually the response. Didn't realize it. We'll get it out to you tomorrow. And I make a note on that. And then I will give them a second chance if I don't get that within the time frame. Then I go to Legal Shield, and I have Legal Shield send a demand letter. And you know what? There's like 40 attorneys listed on there. And they respond very fast to those. So that's the other way. You know, before I had Legal Shield, I could write for months and months. It was like 9 months, and it was around $600-700. Even though I was speaking to people and they were saying they were going to get it to me, it just wasn't happening. And this was a huge title company that later went out of business. I had Legal Shield send that, and I had payment within about 7 days. I had that check, the whole amount, on my desk. So since then, that's now my pattern. Oh, maybe my bad, your bad. Can we work this out? Oh, by the way, I'm still waiting on that. Legal Shield, third time. That's it.
All right. I love it. And Legal Shield is a lifesaver for that. I add an extra step in there. So for me, I always stay professional and give the benefit of the doubt. There's a good chance I forgot to mark something off. There's a good chance that it just slipped through the cracks. Right. But I give them a benefit of the doubt. If I start getting just BS answers, you know, I'll checks in the mail, you know, then I'm like, okay, what is going on here? So, and this has only happened a couple of times, but I like to go to the top. So, and that usually solves the problem. I will copy in the president of the company or the vice president of the company. And I'll just say, hey, I'm just following up on this, but my prior 16 emails have been ineffective. Is there any way that we can respond, you know, get this taken care of? And they will immediately respond, because their entire reputation is based on that. Now, there are some companies where internally they're crumbling or they just don't care. So it doesn't always work. But that's where the Legal Shield letter comes in, and that works surprisingly well.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Great question in there. Let's go to the presentation here. So Terry says, my question is, how to grow my general notary business? What tools, approaches, and best practices to use? My general notary right now is a very tiny piece of my notary business portfolio. I love that terminology. Mm-hmm. My experience includes power of attorney, I-9 forms, insurance or healthcare forms, and prenuptial agreements. Love it. Yeah. So Terry, so Laura, this is right up your alley. This is how you've built your business. What advice do you have for Terry?
Well, you know, this is a really different marketing strategy than what loan signing work is. In terms of you're more open. There aren't platforms per se that you go sign up on these platforms and then people go there and send you work. This takes a lot more relationship building. This takes a lot more learning about the documents that might be coming your way. And then what is that industry about? Who are the people that are requiring it? How are they getting it now? So I think there's a lot of research that would help you better know who would be good targets. Now, you mentioned prenuptial agreement. That's attorney work. I do prenuptial agreement, another family law. That's a family law type of thing. I also take care of other attorneys in the estate planning. You all know that. And then I take care of criminal law because I go to jails for attorneys to take care of their clients. And there are so many different areas of law. I do elder law. So for instance, just that one segment is I look at the different attorneys in my town. I look at what their specialty is. Then I try to find out, okay, what kind of documents might be generated as a result of that? and what can I do to become more knowledgeable about them so that I can speak the lingo. Some of us heard that phrase at symposium. You need to be able to speak the lingo so that when you go in, you speak intelligently about what they do. It shows that you cared enough to know about that. So whatever it is you go after, I think you need to want to know more about that business and about their documents. So that's one recommendation that I have. You know, my website and all of the things that all of you probably see me do, my YouTube presentations now, my blogs, my website, my Yelp, my Google My Business. I mean, these are all ways that the public in general will find me, as well as attorneys, as well as other professionals. So it's a much more visibility is a bigger deal in general work, because you need to be visible to everybody, not just escrow companies. It's everybody is a potential client. So I really work diligently at making sure that I come up a whole bunch of different ways, and I do different things to do that. I write articles. I am in presentations. I speak at conferences. I do lots of different things to make me as visible as possible outside of the notary world, not just inside the notary world. And I think that's what you want to do to start building that part of your business.
Love it. That's really great suggestions. The with general notary work, visibility is the key, and it's really our responsibility to get out there and make sure that when a customer needs a notary, because they only need a notary when they need a notary. You know, people aren't just sitting back thinking, I better put a notary in my back pocket, you know, just in case. It's just not how this industry works yet. So we've got to stay out there and constantly be giving value. And then the other thing, if I'll tack on specifically as well, is search engine optimization for your website and your digital presence. People are just getting on their phone saying notary near me, and you have got to do everything in your power to make sure that it's your website that pops up on that first page of Google, and SEO and Google My Business and all of those oftentimes free services. Although there's a huge learning curve for some of them, it is so worth it, and that can get your phone ringing and dinging.
You know, I get a lot of referral just by referral from one person I took care of, and now it's another family member, and then it's a friend of the family member. And rather than doing business cards, I hardly do business cards at all anymore. We all carry our business cards in our phones, right? And so they put Notary Laura, the first word notary. So the next time they need a notary or somebody asks them for a notary, they say, yeah, I've got one on my phone. And they pull it up, oh, it's Notary Laura, and they have my phone number. I get so many a lot of repeat business, where general sometimes seems like it's one-offs, but I'm finding I'm getting a lot of repeat business. They needed me once, they'll need me again. They put me in their phone under the word notary first, not my name, notary, because they may not remember my name. Boom, they got me. So that has been a great way for me to generate more repeat business.
I love that you bring that up, that people save you in their phone that way. And that's how I sign my thank you cards, my notes. It's Notary Bill, because they're not going to remember that right at first. So if you can just prompt them with a notary, it really helps. Yes. Awesome. I love it. Great question, Terry. And you've got a great frustration here that I had never experienced. So I want to see if anybody else is having this as well, or if this is just a unique company. Signing company provide e-checks to print as a form of payment. I feel this is a disservice, and some even will charge a 2.99% for direct deposit. Have you heard of that, Laura?
Well, yeah. I get e-checks. I don't have any problem with depositing them, so I don't know what the frustrating part is. My bank accepts them without issue. And then I am aware of this direct deposit, which is why I let them send me an e-check, because I don't want to pay the 2.99%. But I will tell you, direct deposit is not free. They have to pay to set up for direct deposit. So it's not free to the company. It's free to you, but not to the company. And so they're trying to recoup some of that cost.
Got it. Great. I don't work with signing companies anymore, so I'd never experienced that. That's good to know. I'm not quite sure what the e-check problem is too. To me, it's, I just don't like to have to print another piece of paper, but if it's money, it's like literally printing money. Doesn't seem too big of a deal, but I wonder if there's other issues happening here. Cool. All right. Looks like that might just be kind of a unique situation. Thank you, Terry. All right. Sue says, do you recommend using special laser printer paper or is regular copy paper sufficient? I will say that in the very beginning, I thought I was really classing it up by upgrading the paper, but it kind of annoyed them. The glossy, that is paper cut magnet paper. So I just said, forget it and just use copy paper. In fact, usually the cheapest paper is totally fine. There's no standard or recommendation, and it does not bring value to the relationships typically. Laura,
I agree. I only use the regular copy paper, whatever's on sale. I don't seem to have a problem with it. It seems fine. But laser makes the difference because that's what gets it to, stay onto the paper. So I don't think paper is the key. I think the printer is the key, the laser printer.
Giselle says, I'm a realtor. Can I be a signing agent or is this a conflict of interest? Giselle, I think your question might be coming up soon, but the short answer is yes, you can absolutely be a signing agent. There's lots of real estate agents that are. Then I will also say that not everybody sees this as a value add. There are some signing companies and there are some title companies that do see it as a conflict of interest. And the best way to look at that is let's just look at this. Say First American Title. If you're a real estate agent and a signing agent and they send you to close one of their clients that they've worked hard to get, which is another real estate agent, and there's any type of breach in the knowledge there or a poaching situation or something like that, then First American Title loses a customer. And it's probably going to get pretty ugly. And not that you would, and not that any of us here would, but notaries before us have crossed that boundary where they may have poached clients or they talk poorly about other real estate agents and try to get them right there at the closing table. So to avoid that situation completely, some title companies, if they know you're a real estate agent, they won't use you. So you have to be strategic in your languaging, and just know that some signing companies think it's great that you are a real estate agent because then they know you're a pro and you can dance around the conversation at the closing table, but other people do not. Laura, anything else on that?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay, great. From Rosemary, do you fill out the distribution of funds form even if they're not getting money back? Laura, do you do that?
It depends on the instruction. I have seen some forms that instruct them to not fill it out unless, but otherwise, yeah, if they're not getting money back, I still have them sign the form because you know what? Even though it may look like it's zeroed out, a lot of times there's a pad going on in the closing disclosure and the expenses, and they might get, $20 back, whatever it is. So I always have the form pretty much, unless I'm told not to, I have them sign it and say, oh, just mail me a check because it was probably going to be a small amount.
Yeah, and the general rule of thumb is if it's in there, it gets signed. It is not our job to just decide which documents apply to the situation and which ones do not. For the most case, if they've included it, the expectation is that it gets signed. The second part of the question is, or just question number 2 is, where can I get a list of what the escrow forms and what the lender forms are? Rosemary, I know this is a logical question, but it just doesn't apply to this industry. The challenge that we have to face is that every escrow title company, every signing company, every lender does things different, and they're going to have different forms. We've got this, like these disclosures that are going to be common to all like FHA situations, conventional and things like that, but every lender, every title company is going to do things just a little bit differently. So I don't know that there could be a comprehensive list that would be of service. You could make it up based on general situations, but one thing that you'll learn in this business is that there are exceptions and gray area every single day. So I don't know that that would be that would serve you as a something to study. Laura,
And
you teach this.
different versions of the same form.
Yeah.
I mean, just signature name affidavit, I've probably handled 6 or 7 different versions of that. So I don't know the list would be very helpful. I think what's helpful is understanding purposes of forms so that you understand what's going on. But each one may be filled out differently, may have different requirements, may or may not have notarization.
Or initials or
Yeah,
dates.
it's all different.
All different things there. So if you haven't already, I recommend some sort of training course or some sort of mentor or coach just to kind of guide you through that. Also, if you're part of Sign and Thrive, there's a document vault where you can see tons of different types of signings. The reason that I did that was so that you could see how similar a lot of this stuff is, but at the same time, how different it is. It's the same, but different.
You know, and Matt is mentioning, you know, does the NNA have a general forms list and description? They have a book with a lot of the most common documents for loan signings. And yes, they do have a book. But you know what? It's just a sliver of what's possible.
That's a great way of looking at it, just a sliver of what's possible. And then I guarantee you that your first signing will be whatever you did not study.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes. Okay, so Carolyn says, oh, great question. So Carolyn says, a female, makeup, pretty hairdo, nice dress, that you've never met before comes before you to have a document notarized. However, the driver's license clearly states male. That shows a man with no makeup, a different hairdo, but looks somewhat similar to the one standing before you, but you're just not sure. Laura, how do you handle this?
Well, you know, it's going to happen, and it's already happening. And of course, now we have driver's licenses that are binary, and it doesn't claim gender. So I'm looking to see if the person in front of me is this person, and I'm going to ask them, okay, you don't look like your picture. Can you show me other ID that indicates this is you? I want to have a conversation. That's all. Because my job is to verify that you're this person. And it doesn't just happen like this. This is one extreme. Another one is I've taken care of people that have lost 100 pounds or gained 100 pounds. And they don't look anything like the photograph anymore. And some of our states allow us to keep our license picture for 20 years or more. So there's lots of reasons why your signer doesn't look like who, the card that they've presented. So then it becomes my job to just investigate it a little further to verify, yeah, that makes sense. There's a reason why they don't look like they do in the picture. And then in my journal, I would be making some notes, that I talked to them and, this is what it was. And in my state, I'm not required to identify gender in the certificate, meaning I don't have to circle or strike he, she, they. And so I don't, because it's not my job to determine what somebody's gender is.
Love that. So to tack onto that too, number 2, a person dressed in clothing representing their beliefs of faith that you've never met before comes in to have a document notarized. Their face is covered with fabric where only the eyes are visible. The ID is the same, but it's hard to tell if the picture and the person are exactly the same.
There's a lawsuit on that.
Is that still going on? Because it seemed like we talked about that earlier this year.
Yeah, I don't know if it is, but it had to do with it. Is it called a hijab? Whatever it is they wear. And so all they could see were the eyes. And it really wasn't that person. So here's what I'm going to tell you is that if what they're wearing does not allow you to check to see, then ask them to remove it. And for in this particular one I'm thinking of, all she had to do was remove it if it was for a female notary. And if it was a male notary, she needs to go to a different notary. And that male notary should say, I'm sorry, I really can't verify who you are. Please, you'll need to seek a female notary so that she can do so.
And that would be the perfect time to say, I'm not your notary.
I'm not your notary.
All right, wonderful. Great question, Carolyn. From Geraldine, I have heard the term notary team and or team of notaries a couple of times. If possible, during the TNT call, can you explain more? For example, what are the pros and cons? How do you find a person that has a team or building a team? I'm in Central Florida near Orlando. So I'll share a little bit about my experience here, Laura, and then I'd love to hear your perspective on this too. Very oftentimes for me, I say team, and it could mean a couple of different things. For me, I opted to start a signing company. So when I say team, that means those are notaries that I have hired as independent contractors to facilitate signings for my company. Also, there are people who have teams where they don't have a signing company, but they have this like referral team or a service team. So if they're ever not available, they just refer to somebody that they know and trust on their team to facilitate that signing. And then they just don't get paid. The notary who performs the work gets paid. Laura, that's kind of the arrangement you have, right?
Right. And the second part of it is, well, how do you find somebody doing that, or how do you build one yourself? I did it through Meetup, because by having meetups, I got to meet people in person. We got to discuss notary law. We got to discuss our beliefs and our systems about how we handle customers. And I had a better sense of who they were. And that made me more confident to then refer out. And I probably have about a dozen or more notaries in other cities, all the way up to the Bay, Sacramento, and down towards Fresno, Bakersfield, and a couple in the LA area that I send work to when it's out of the area I want to service. And again, when I refer it to them, they get the job. I don't get anything for that. Just as if they send work to me, I would get the job and they wouldn't get anything for that. And so we help each other out in that way.
That works really well for general notary work too. And I see that Matt even says, be part of a referral network. And this all ties in even to what we were talking about a little bit earlier with how to grow a business in general notary work, or how to build a team, or how to get your foot in the door at an escrow company. This just boils down to relationships, guys. And relationships sometimes take a little bit of time to organically grow, but the approach is very much the same. You have to kind of get to know people a little bit. Your name and your reputation's on the line, and like with your escrow officers, their reputation's on the line with you. So there's this, it's the gentleness to it that sometimes we try to force on people so much just by throwing up everything that we do and how great we are and what we're willing to do right in the beginning. And Laura, I really liked your collaborator presentation at Symposium, because you speak to this as well. When people want to collaborate or build a network, it's just like you're revved up, you're excited, and you just want to get everything, get together and just build something amazing. But people need little time to make sure that you're a good fit for them and that you're a good fit, well, vice versa. So you got to allow some space for these things to organically grow.
And this will also work for loan signing, not quite as well, but it does, because when I'm called to take care of a loan signing, and I only work for companies that I've been working for a long time, when I'm not available, I will say, you know what, I have some colleagues who are certified, the same certifications I have, they have experience like I have. I'd be happy to give you one or two of those in the city you're looking for, if you would like. Now, sometimes they'll say, okay, what's their name? And they say, oh, she's on my list. I just haven't gotten to her yet because I'm their go-to notary. So great, I'm going to call her next. And if they say, no, she's not on my list, can I have her number? Now I've been able to do a favor to one of my colleagues, because now she's on that list. And the next time she'll already be on the list for a call. And so they do accept recommendations. If you've got a little bit of a reputation yourself, because that's a little bit of capital that you're expending to refer somebody else, because they're trusting me and my reputation, and they're expecting to get the same quality because I said they would be a good person to use.
Yeah. So, and there's a huge pro and a huge con in this, like Geraldine asks. The pro is by having a team or even a signing company, you can say yes to signings. Yeah, I'm sure we can get that taken care of. I'm sure we have somebody who can help with that. The con is the reputation and the stress of trusting somebody else to deliver the same level of service that you would to a signing, because everybody has their off days. The mistakes are going to happen. They're going to happen. So that's probably the most stressful part of my business, is having the signing company. Just every time sending out a notary to a job, just I'm like, fingers crossed, like, let's do this, get it done. And if the phone rings, I used to build it up to be a lot worse than it is. Now we know that mistakes, especially when you have great relationships, don't have to be that big a deal, because you can get those things fixed, but still it's a little stressful. Is there anybody on the call? In just a couple minutes, we're going to start taking live questions, but I'd like to see if you can raise your hand just to indicate that you have a question. So I know if that's necessary for us to do that. Dell says, regarding signature, example only, driver's license says John Smith, name on documents is John Doe Smith. The signer's signature is one of those fancy ones, like a work of art. Not really legible, but it's his signature. He points out to me that is the signature he uses for any of those names. And even on the AKA statement, he signs the same way with no divination. I hope I don't get penalized from Amrock. This is a tough one to talk about without seeing it, but Laura, do you have a general guideline that you go by in these situations that we can offer?
Well, you know, there's a fine line when we're talking about signatures in the first place, because telling somebody how to sign their name is law. It's the practice of law. So how do we get around that? We don't say that's how you have to sign your name. We indicate, oh, the document or the lender has indicated this is how you sign your name. So we're telling them somebody else is saying how to do this. That's the first thing. Remember, we're not in charge of that. That is the unauthorized practice of law for us to force on them. You have to sign this way. The second part of it is that if you can't read it, this is their signature. This is their signature, and it's going to have to be accepted. Not my place to say, you know, you need to change your signature to accommodate having all three parts of your name. If they refuse and say, that's the signature I have, that's what I go with. I don't go any further than that. And I just let the signing company know that was the signature. And I move forward. I don't get that. That's not get it any further.
Sorry, hold on one second, Laura. We're having some there we go. Now you're back on.
So anyways, however somebody signs it, even though I may have directed in the beginning, please sign your name the way you have been instructed by the document or the lender. However they sign their name is how they sign your name.
Excellent. All right, let's go to our live calls now. I'm going to stop the share here. We've got quite a few hands up. So let's jump into Dory. Dory, are you available?
Hi.
Hi, Dory.
Good morning.
Morning.
So my question is, if you are trying to do a meetup in your area, I know Facebook is a great place, but would you just do an event and post it to several like notary sites? I don't know the best way to go about inviting other notaries to that event.
Great. Any suggestions, Laura?
Yeah, I do. When I'm holding one actually December 10th coming up. And so I post it on my Facebook page. I post it on the Facebook groups I participate in. I also post it locally. I'm part of Alignable. I mean, everything that I'm a part of where I can be seen. I post that this date is coming up. I created an event. I contact notaries that are within my area. So all the different ways that I know to reach out, I do. One of the things that I think helps is having something attract them to want to come. That might be a speaker. If it's not a speaker, it just might be a particular topic.
Okay.
So that they don't think they're just going to come there and sit and nobody knows what's going to happen. Really, right. That's a lot of time investment for them to drive there, sit there, be a part of it. And so they want to know that there's going to be some value there when they get there.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that for sure.
I found that having value like that, like a training or something and a structure really makes people feel more comfortable, because with a lot of, especially us as solopreneurs or silopreneurs, is we don't like to just show up and mingle. I mean, there's always the ones that love that, but there's a lot of us here that don't want to just show up and awkwardly sit in a room with people. We want to get in, we want to learn something, we want to justify that. So
I have the perfect topic. actually. That comes to mind. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, no problem. Another great resource for that is meetup.com. And also, let me just say, when you put an event on Facebook for $20, you could hit thousands of notaries by just promoting the event and just selecting people who like Notary or Notary Public on
Oh,
in their interests. So, I mean, depending on how much traffic you want to get and what your goal is, $20 is not a bad investment for that.
right. Thank you. I didn't know
Yeah.
that was a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Great question. All right, Blanca, are you available? Blanca?
Do you have her muted, Bill?
I think everybody can unmute themselves now. Blanca.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw that.
there you go. Hi.
Hi. Yes. I'm not a notary agent, signing agent as of yet, but I'm learning so that I can work towards that. I was looking at my own closing documents for when I bought my property, and I noticed something on the title company disclosure. Do you know how like if somebody isn't present, you're supposed to do, I guess, another paper, an acknowledgement on the side and cross out somebody's name?
So you
If
have
they're not
multiple signers, but one of them isn't there? Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
Yes, but this wasn't the signers. It was the whoever was selling me the property. Their signatures were already on the paper.
Okay.
Is that supposed to be? Were they supposed to do an acknowledgement with me, like crossing out my name or crossing out their names, because they weren't there when I did it?
Well,
No,
no.
not necessarily. No. A lot of times the buyer and the seller are not at the same table, so they will have signed ahead of time.
Okay.
So
But this is notarized still.
right.
Right, but it could have been in their package. They could have run concurrent packages. So they had their own package and you have your package. So it may not have been, or it could have just been an error by that notary. I mean, I don't know without seeing the package what happened.
Oh, this was on the title company disclosure and their signatures were on it and I signed it. And there's two signs, but they weren't present.
So if it's a notary, did the notary for them do their thing?
Same notary.
Right, but I'm wondering, were their signatures required to have notarization or was it just your signature? Sometimes the seller has to sign, but it's the buyers that have to have their signatures notarized or
Both
vice
of them.
versa.
It says both of them, sworn to subscribe and acknowledge before me. And then the what is it? The seller names. And
Yep.
then there's a notarization. And then on the bottom, it's my information and notarization.
So right. So that notary did it for the seller at a different time and place, right?
I guess at the same place. It was in Texas.
Okay. But at a different time because you weren't there with the seller, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's a notary block for the seller's signatures, and then there was a notary block for you, and it just happened to be the same notary. So that's pretty common.
Okay. I was just wanting to know because I was like, wait a minute, aren't we supposed to cross out somebody's name? You know, because I don't know. I'm still learning.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like Laura said, it's really hard to quote exactly without looking at the document. But if you want to set up a private coaching call with me and we can look right at it, I can tell you how it worked. That's totally fine too. You can go to the website at notarycoach.com and there's a place to book a call with me.
Okay. No problem. Thank you.
Awesome. Great question. Thank you, Blanca. Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Shanna, how are you?
Good morning. How are you guys?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
So I'm new to notary. I haven't signed anything yet. My question is that if I didn't have a printer, can I print from FedEx or Kinko's?
Well, it's definitely not a best practice because the privacy of the information on those documents is of utmost importance. So there are ways to do it to help mitigate any risk using flash drives, making sure that you're the one that actually prints them at these places. But then you have another huge factor for you just starting out is the expense. You know, those without finding some sort of discount code or something like that, that could eat up easily 30, 40, sometimes 60% of your signing fee. So when you start looking at it like that, it's real easy to justify, putting $300 on a credit card and getting a printer.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. And we're kind of in the last 10 minutes here. And Laura, we're going to circle back to gratitude real quick, because you have a presentation on the power and benefits of gratitude, right?
I do. And actually, I didn't have a chance to create a slideshow for you, but it's all right. I want you to be in a place of gratitude. And what I want to talk to you about is the benefits of gratitude. So it all sounds touchy-feely and great. I should feel grateful for whatever it is. But did you realize that there are actual benefits to you by putting yourself into that place of gratitude? I want to start with, there are 5 emotional benefits, social benefits, career benefits, health benefits, and personality benefits. Emotionally, you will experience more good feelings. You'll have a sense of relaxedness. You will be more resilient to things that are coming to you in your life, less envious, and your lens will be more happy when you look at your memories. You'll have that a happier lens on that. Socially, when you're in a place of gratitude, that's where you come from, you want to be more social. Your marriage or relationships with whoever they are, whether they're friends, significant others, more friendships, deeper friendships, your career, better management of what you're doing, improved networking, again, because people are going to like you. You just radiate that sense of happiness, more goal achievement, improved decision-making, increased productivity. When I'm in a good place, I'm very productive. I am turning stuff out like nobody's business. When I'm focused on the yucky, I just kind of sit in that rather than getting out of that and doing other things. Sleep is improved, less illness, longevity, I'd like to be around for a while, increased energy, and which leads to being more, to exercise more, whether it's formal exercise or just that you're in movement, a body in motion. Personality, less materialistic, less self-centered, more optimistic, increased self-esteem, and more spiritual. These are all areas of our lives that help us be happy. And when we're happy, it shows. And when we're happy, others around us feel that and want to be a part of that. And so I just wanted to point out that it's more than just saying, oh, I'm grateful for this or that. But when you truly work at having that attitude of gratitude on a daily basis, these are some of the benefits you can reap from doing that. And I just thought I'd share that with you.
I love it. That's been a key component, I think, for me in my sense of success, like how I feel every single day when I wake up, is having a gratitude practice that's so powerful. So powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. And we have a couple more minutes. So let's ask so Ronnie says, and I thank you, Matt, for even answering, for general notary work, do you take payment first thing, looking to see how many notarizations you see will be doing it, or at the end? So do you take payment for general notary work at the beginning or at the end of your appointment?
I take it at the end. I will quote up front based on what I see the work to be. I always quote up front so they know what's going to happen, but I don't take payment till I'm done. I provide the service.
Yep. And knock on wood, I don't think I've ever been burned by this, but I always give benefit of the doubt, guys. I know when you're in the forums, you hear these nightmare stories about how people didn't get paid or they've been waiting for 90 days, but those are the exception. That's the 0.001%. Most people are good. Most people are going to pay you for your service. Most transactions are going to go smooth. Build your business around the majority, not the exceptions.
Bill, can I say something?
Heck yeah, please. Hey, Ronnie.
Hi, Laura. Hi, Bill.
Hi.
One of my first notaries, it was I think it was a a grant deed or a quitclaim deed, and the mother was signing, but the son was going to pay us. And when it came to paying us, he said his wife went to get the money, and it was just, and then he ended up knocking on neighbors' doors, and we ended up going to the bank to cash his check. I went with a paralegal who, went with me. He wrote up the documents, and we both ended up, I said, I don't accept checks. And we ended up going to the bank to cash the check before I got paid. So it seemed like maybe I should be asking for the money up front. That's why I asked.
Well, I will say this. I let people know how I take payment up front so they're prepared for me when I get there.
Yeah. I had done that.
Work is that I let them know I take credit card, I take cash, I don't take checks, so that they know right up front before I come there what are the methods of payment that are going to work, so I don't have to run around like that. But I don't think that is typical. I'm in my 16 years, has it happened? Yeah, it's happened to me, where they just weren't listening and they go to pull out their checkbook, and I have to decide, do I want to chase them down and get that cash, or I just take the check and be done with it? And that sometimes I just say, okay, normally I don't take checks, but I'll take one from you today. And I just, and you know what? I've only had, in 16 years, I've only had one $25 check bounce. I mean, in 16 years, and I've taken lots of checks. So it's not my practice to do it, but I try to make it easy to do business with me up front, and I still take the money at the end. And yes, do I take a risk? Ronnie, yeah, there could be that risk. It could happen, but 99% of the time it doesn't happen for me.
Yeah, that's good, because we did tell him that he had to pay in cash, that I wasn't taking checks, and he said his wife went to get it, and the paralegal had gotten there before I did, and he said that they were fighting, the wife and the husband, and he said, I really don't think the wife's going to come back with the cash. And that's why I was kind of hesitant also to take a check from him, because I live in a town where it's known for fraudulent checks. And that's why I always make sure that they know I take cash only. And I do have credit cards, but I was kind of afraid to even mention it at that point, because I was afraid his credit card wouldn't be good. So, but I'm glad to see that it's not the, the normal. And it's really weird, because it was my first notary, and I was like, oh, maybe I should have taken payment at first. So I said, lucky me.
What am I doing here? Yeah, no, it's definitely not like that. That's an exception. And the cool thing is you can decide what you want to do for your business. That's the beautiful thing. If it's worth it to you, if you're trusting your gut, like if I don't follow him to the bank, I know I'm not getting paid, then you could do that for sure. But that's definitely not normal there.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Guys, we're probably going to wrap up here. I think we're going to have a special holiday message coming up from a special guest. Doug, if you're on the line, we'll start we'll have you on here. There he is right there. Guys, before Doug comes on, I know the holidays can sometimes be a mixed bag of emotions, but I just want you to know that you're loved here. Laura, Carol, and I are so grateful to have you here. Happy holidays, whatever that means to you. And we'll have a special holiday message from a very special guest all the way from the North Pole.
Hello, everyone. I want to say thank you to Bill, Laura, and Carol for all the work that you do. Thanks so much. Everyone have a happy Thanksgiving and a wonderful holiday season. Ho, ho, ho.
Thanks a lot, Santa Doug, fellow notary. All right, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.